don't know what happened.
Okay, listen to me. Sir, is someone hurt? You need to tell me yes or no. Is someone hurt?
Yes, my daughter's.
On Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2021, the Tarsinski family gathered with relatives in Florida. Laughter and warmth filled the air as they enjoyed food, exchanged gifts, and basked in the holiday spirit. Among the attendees was Ariana Tarsinski and her boyfriend, Ramon Durst. It seemed like a perfectly ordinary holiday celebration. By midnight, the Tarsinskis returned to their home in Spring Hill. Tired from the evening, Ariana's parents, Eddie and Judy, retired to their bedroom. Ariana's younger sister, Isabella, decided to watch a movie in her room, but soon fell asleep. Ramon, staying overnight, made himself comfortable on the couch. However, Ariana wasn't ready to call it a night. Wanting to spend more time with Ramon, the young couple headed upstairs to Ariana's room. Just as Ariana's father drifted off to sleep, he was jolted awake by Ramon's frantic screams. When he opened the door, he was met with a horrifying sight that would forever be etched in his memory. Standing just outside Ariana's bedroom was Ramon, his clothes soaked in blood. He was gripping Ariana by her hair and neck while blood poured from a deep cut across her throat.
All of a sudden I hear Eddie screaming, and he's got my daughter by the hair and by the neck, and she just has like blood coming out of her mouth and couldn't speak. There's blood everywhere.
Ariana's wide eyes locked with her father's in a silent plea for help. But within moments, her body gave out. She collapsed to the floor, still bleeding profusely. In a state of panic, her father, Eddie, grabbed the phone and dialed 911. The operator struggled to hear Eddie over the cacophony of shouting and cursing in the background. Eddie switched the phone to speaker mode, forcing Ramon to answer.
Hi! What happened? She was upset. Got a knife.
Where's the knife? Someone, I can't understand what's going on.
12-year-old Isabella was awoken by the chaos outside her room. Stepping into the hallway, she froze at the sight before her. Her sister, Ariana, lay motionless on the floor in a pool of blood, while Ramon stood over her, still gripping her hair. Her father, Eddie, still shouted at Ramon, loud and frantic, but Isabella couldn't understand what either man was saying. Moments later, Ramon, with shocking calmness, dragged Ariana's body toward Eddie's bedroom. It was then that Isabella noticed the bloody trail smeared along the floor. After placing Ariana in the master bedroom, Ramon walked downstairs, with Eddie close behind. Eddie accused Ramon of killing his daughter, his voice breaking with panic and rage, while Ramon fired back with angry but empty words. The noise soon attracted the attention of neighbors. Thomas and Melissa Lobianco, who lived 3 houses away, heard the loud shouting from the Tarsinski home. They contacted the Hernando County Sheriff's Office to report what they believed was a domestic dispute. From their window, the Lobiancos watched Eddie and a blood-covered man step into the front yard, their argument growing louder. Thomas decided to intervene and walked toward his neighbor. As he got closer, the words Eddie was shouting became clearer.
We were inside and heard the screaming. This kid came out of the house covered in blood, and Eddie's yelling at him, saying, "You effing killed her."
Thomas was immediately alarmed by the young man, who was covered in blood and confronting Eddie in an aggressive manner. Fearing for Eddie's safety, Thomas slapped the man, but it didn't help. So he decisively punched the man to the ground. It was then that he recognized the blood-soaked individual was Ramon, Ariana's boyfriend. Despite being knocked down, Ramon continued to scream, repeating over and over that he was going to jail for what he had done.
The kid says, "Well, what the F doesn't matter? I'm going to jail anyway."
At this point, you would think this was an open and shut case. Ramon would be arrested and thrown in jail. But sadly, justice for Ariana was painfully out of reach. Hello and welcome back. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell. In today's episode, we're analyzing how Florida Sheriff's Office botched a murder case. Now let's get back to the story. Born on July 28, 2003, Ariana Alexandra Tarsinski grew up in Spring Hill, Florida, with her parents, Eddie and Judy. 6 years later, the family welcomed a second daughter, Isabella. From a young age, Ariana was a protective older sister and a hardworking student. She even completed her training with the Reserve Officers Training Corps, ROTC. After completing high school, Ariana had clear goals for her future. She wanted to become a mortician. Taking her first steps into adulthood, she secured a part-time job at Hobby Lobby, obtained her driver's license, and planned to enroll in online college classes. Ariana was introduced to 20-year-old Ramon Durst, an electrician's apprentice from Florida, through mutual friends. The two quickly hit it off and began dating. Ariana's parents had a very good impression of Ramon.
He seemed like a nice kid.
Little did they know she would be attacked in her own home, in the hands of Ramon, the nice kid. Minutes after the 911 call, paramedics arrived and rushed into the house. Still bleeding heavily from the neck wound, Ariana was stabilized on site before being transported to Bayonet Point Hospital for emergency surgery. Meanwhile, law enforcement officers secured the scene and restored order. Outside, Eddie and Ramon continued screaming at each other. Officers pointed a rifle at Eddie to subdue him.
They came in like, gun, with the rifle and get on the ground. I'm not going to tell you again.
Eddie finally complied and allowed himself to be handcuffed. Ramon was also arrested, but he did not resist. Inside, officers escorted Judy and Isabella from the house. Isabella, visibly shaken, was placed in protective custody, while Judy, overwhelmed by the night's events, was detained and placed in the back of a police cruiser. According to officers, Judy appeared heavily intoxicated and hysterical. Dashcam footage captured her desperate cries as she begged for updates on Ariana's condition, repeatedly pleading with deputies to save her daughter. A deputy approached Judy and gently asked if it would be acceptable for Isabella to stay with her cousin Melissa. However, Judy insisted that Isabella should be sent to stay with her grandmother, believing it would be a safer and more comforting environment for her shaken daughter.
Judy, you know Melissa, right?
Melissa.
Your cousin?
Yes.
Okay, her last name's Galza? Galaz?
What's going on?
Real quick, we gotta figure out what we're gonna do with Isabel.
What do you mean?
Cause she's sitting in the back of a car,
Okay.
which isn't cool. She's 12 years old. So I just want to make sure that we have your permission that she can be with Melissa for.
Where's my... No, I want my mom. I want to be with her.
Okay, where's she at?
The officer locked Judy in the car and left. She banged on the window, repeatedly pleaded to know if Ariana was alive and Isabella was safe. After begging for half an hour, Judy asked a nearby officer to use the bathroom. However, she was denied.
Hey, I have to go to the bathroom.
Alright, you're gonna need to wait, because I'm gonna have to ask what I can do.
Okay, can you tell me, is my mom and my dad back here?
No, I don't know.
Can you please help me stop being nasty to me? Please, tell me,
I've been working.
is my daughter okay? I have to pee. I'm gonna pee in here. If you don't let me go, please. Just let me pull my pants down and go outside. Please, I have to pee really bad. I've been knocking. And you haven't been listening. Please let me go. Please, can you let me go?
I told you, give me a second so I can figure out what I need to do so I can...
I know, I can't hold it anymore. I've been knocking. I can't hold it. I'm gonna go in my pants. Please. I'm not a bad mom. I love my girls. I don't know what happened.
Finally, the officer informed Judy that Ariana had been stabbed and the situation was now a criminal investigation. She explained that Judy was being detained for questioning because she had been inside the house when the incident occurred.
You said you had a question. What do you need to know?
What's going on with my older daughter?
I told you she's at the hospital. She had a blood transfusion and she was stable, and that was almost...
I need to be with her. Please, why am I in here?
I told you multiple times, I'm not going to keep going over this with you. As soon as they're done asking questions, you're going to be allowed...
Okay, they're not asking questions though.
Okay?
Nobody's asked me anything.
Keep coming here and asking questions, but they're not giving me...
When? One guy came to me. Please do not shut the door on me.
Then you need to calm down.
One person came. It's my daughter. Please understand if it was her daughter.
Despite Judy's confusion and fear, she was largely ignored for over 50 minutes as officers focused on collecting evidence from the home. Meanwhile, Ramon sat in a separate police cruiser. In stark contrast to Judy's hysteria, Ramon appeared resigned to his fate. An hour later, he was transported to the police station for further questioning. Alone in the interrogation room, Ramon sat quietly, resting his head on the cold metal table. The silence hung heavy in the air. After about 7 minutes, an officer entered, and what happened next was nothing short of
Took
shocking.
your handcuffs off you? Alright, listen, we're gonna get you out of here. We looked into the case a little bit further, and we're not charging you with anything. What? We're not gonna charge you anything right now.
The officer informed Ramon that he was not being charged. Ramon was visibly surprised by the announcement and immediately asked about Ariana.
I want to ask you something. Is it okay if we take pictures of what happened with you? Since we don't know if you happen to be a victim of something, we'd like to have evidence of that too. So if you don't mind, would we be able to take pictures of you? Of your injuries and stuff that you got hurt?
Do you know anything? Yes, but do you know anything about her?
As far as I know, she's still in surgery. They're still working on her.
Do you know what time it is?
7:30. Actually, 7:35. And I know it seems scary that she's in surgery for a long time, but they take their time to make sure everything's the right way. So sometimes things take quite a long time. So she's still okay. She's still in surgery, and we don't know anything more than that. So if you're okay, what we'd like to do is, you're pretty bloody, your clothes are pretty bloody, we'd like to grab those two, and we can give you something to wear. We'll take pictures of you, and if you don't mind, we'll get a buccal swab from you, which is like a DNA sample. It's no big deal because you're together with her, you're in the same house.
Yeah.
So we really don't. Yeah, but it's just procedures we like to follow. So if you're okay with that, we'll do that, and then when we're done, we'll get you out of here. Is that okay for you? You're okay with that?
Yeah.
The officer then explained to Ramon that he would need to be photographed and examined for any forensic evidence before being released. The investigation team would stay in contact with Ramon, and if further questions arose, they would bring him back for another interview.
If you're cooperative with us and you keep in touch with us, we have no reason to come jack you up at your business or wherever you're working at. If something has to happen, you can run all you want. We'll come get you wherever you are. You know what I mean? It's not. You're a young kid. If you run away, it doesn't make no sense. If something's going to happen, running isn't going to solve the problem.
No, I just didn't know if they're coming to arrest you.
It depends on who you're talking to. Like, I could call you, like me, if you've been straight with me, I'll call you on the phone and say, listen, this is what we got to do. When can you do it? And if you do what I need you to do, we're good. And if you don't, I get a warrant and I'll track you down. You know, other guys, they get scared because they don't know what you're going to do. Are you going to run away? Are you going to do this? So they'll just get a warrant and come get you. So I don't know what this detective will or won't do, but you going home is a good thing so that we can look into this a little bit further to find out what's really going on.
Ramon then asked to change his clothes and retrieve his personal belongings. The officer gave him a standard white jumpsuit and promised that police would drive him back to the house. The officer went very soft on Ramon, ensuring he was comfortable and taken care of. Ramon then asked about Ariana's condition and her recovery. The officer explained that only family members would be permitted to visit her in the hospital. The conversation shifted back to potential charges. The officer explained that Ramon would be charged of domestic battery due to his relationship with the victim. Once the forensic examination was complete, Ramon was left alone in the room as officers finalized arrangements for his release. Sitting in silence, Ramon could be heard softly whispering to himself, pleading for a miracle, his voice carrying the weight of fear and regret.
Feeling stronger. I swear if we get through this, I'm gonna hear you right now. Just can't get through this.
Minutes later, the officer returned to inform Ramon that arrangements had been made. Police would drive him back to the Tarsinski house to retrieve his car and belongings. Ramon hesitantly asked about Ariana, but the officer reiterated that only Ariana's family would have access to such information.
2 hours.
2 hours ago she was still in surgery.
Yeah, she was still in surgery, but they were
were talking well.
Who?
The surgeons, well, when we first started this night, we thought she was going to die.
I thought she was dead.
Yeah, well, modern miracle in medicine, okay? They can do a lot.
They were sounding hopeful.
Yeah, they were sounding hopeful.
After being taken back to the Tarsinski house to retrieve his belongings, Roman was allowed to return to his grandmother's home while the investigation remained ongoing. At the hospital, trauma doctors did everything they could to save Ariana's life. However, complications arose following her surgery. Ariana was placed on life support as her condition worsened. Her parents made an agonizing decision to remove her from life support. On the morning of December 26, 2021, Ariana was pronounced dead. The tragedy deepened when an autopsy confirmed their worst fears. Conducted by Dr. Wayne Kearse, the 6th District Medical Examiner, the report concluded that Ariana's death was a homicide caused by complications of stab wound of neck. The fatal stab wound was about 0.6 inches long on the left side of Ariana's neck, approximately 8 inches from the top of her head and 1.8 inches above her left shoulder. She also had 2 cuts on the back of her head, one about 0.6 inches and the other 1 inch long. There were 2 faint bruises on her left forearm. The largest was 0.6 inches. Dr. Kearse stated that the injury was inflicted by another person, ruling out the possibility of a self-inflicted wound. This crucial finding set the stage for a homicide investigation. Ariana was laid to rest on December 30, 2021, in Spring Hill, Florida, surrounded by grieving family and friends. However, for the Tarsinski family, the nightmare was far from over. There was no official suspect in this homicide case. According to Hernando County Sheriff's Office Detective Chris Kraft, Roman was never read his Miranda rights or directly questioned about his involvement in Ariana's death. He wrote, Roman was never advised of his Miranda warnings because he did not wish to talk about what occurred. Roman had a cut on the left side of his neck. The cut appeared to have been caused by a knife, and the injury was superficial. The cut may have been about 3 inches long. There appeared to be a second smaller cut above the first one. Roman did have some cuts and scrapes on his shoulder, back, arms, and legs. Roman was treated as a victim during his interview at the police station. After his release, Roman secured legal counsel and refused to cooperate with investigators.
He's got an attorney. Mum's the word. And he can sit there with his mouth shut all day and there's nothing they can do because he is represented by an attorney.
His silence only fueled frustration for the Tarsinski family. The only update they received was that Ariana's case had been handed over to the state attorney's office for review. No charges had ever been filed.
We don't know what exactly happened in that room, but all I know is our daughter's not here, and there's no charges against this kid whatsoever.
For the next 18 months, the Tarsinski family endured a painful wait for justice. Repeated inquiries to the sheriff's office yielded the same response. The case was still under review. On July 28, 2023, the family held a special memorial to celebrate what would have been her 20th birthday.
Ariana Tarczynski would have celebrated her 20th birthday Friday, but instead, her family says they feel helpless. They released lanterns to keep their daughter's memory alive.
Every year we are going to do something for her. She deserves that. I want justice for her. Yeah, absolutely. She deserves it. I mean, and you don't get any answers. That's all we want is answers.
The Tarsinski celebration was immediately overshadowed by devastating news. On August 16, 2023, Assistant State Attorney Peter Magrino informed the family that the state had chosen not to file charges in Ariana's death. The case was being officially closed. While the investigation was concluded, the case could be reopened if someone came forward with new evidence. Ariana's parents could not believe it. They realized justice for their daughter might never be served. The decision to close Ariana's case without charges sent shockwaves through the Tarsinski family and the Spring Hill community. Many were left questioning whether the investigation had been thorough or if critical details had been overlooked. During the initial investigation, officers returned Roman's wallet without proper documentation. 2 knives found in Ariana's bedroom were not properly analyzed, leaving potential forensic clues unexplored. Furthermore, a bedsheet bearing what appeared to be Roman's bloody handprint was left uncollected. These missteps fueled outrage and skepticism. These issues caught the attention of experts in criminal justice, including retired New York detective John Beza. He has received more than 20 awards and commendations for valor, bravery, and exceptional merit. In 2022, he was inducted into the National Law Enforcement Officers Hall of Fame. After examining the case, Beza concluded, "There's a piece of evidence in this case that nobody looked at. That evidence would have led to probable cause to arrest the suspect." Now let's look back at Assistant State Attorney Peter Magrino's reason for closing the case. He argued that, according to Florida law, a death caused by negligence could not be prosecuted as a criminal offense without mens rea. Mens rea is a legal term meaning guilty mind. Basically, Peter Magrino argued that Ramon was not aware of what he was doing, so he could not be charged with murder. Beza focused on the dashcam footage, which was publicly available. In one footage showing Ramon sitting in a police cruiser, Beza noticed Ramon had made several incriminating statements, completely aware of what was going on. These admissions provided probable cause for further questioning and even potential arrest. In the footage, Ramon appeared resigned to his fate. Tears streamed down his face as he reflected on what had happened.
Can I just say something? Can we have a little back and forth real quick? Let's have back and forth, right? My life's over right now. What do you mean? You know what I mean. You see what the situation is.
I don't know what the situation is. I've been outside with you.
Okay. What do you think the situation is?
I don't know. I don't want to assume.
Do you see what I'm covered in?
Okay. What happened?
I don't know. I can't. I'm not going to say something because I know.
Well, I've seen you the day out there fighting, so I don't know.
Look, alright, you don't know, but I know. But
okay. Well,
the situation is like, I'm 20 years old. I love that. I love it.
Ramon's anxiety about his future was evident. He repeatedly asked the officer what would happen to him.
I go to the police station, okay? Walk out to the police station. After I arrive at the police station.
I don't know. It depends on whatever went on here.
That's it.
Then Ramon broke down in tears.
I want to cry.
Huh?
I want to cry.
Go ahead, cry.
No one will have mercy for me. No one. And I don't blame them. I wouldn't have mercy for me either. It's like ridiculous, you know? You know, like, no way life is just fucking ridiculous. Oh, I just want to hug, man. I don't deserve one.
Then, Ramon grew suspicious, convinced that the officer was trying to extract incriminating information from him. Ramon even demanded to see what the officer had written in the notebook, wanting to ensure it was accurate. He also expressed discomfort in sharing personal details, voicing concerns that the information might be leaked and that his own family could be in trouble. Ramon was so sure he would end up in jail that he asked the officer this.
You know what federal prison I'd go to?
I have no idea. I have no idea what you've done.
Yeah.
Beza noted that in the 74-minute video, Ramon had repeatedly admitted to attacking Ariana. "I slipped on the bed. No one will have mercy for me. Do you know what federal prison I will go to? I know I don't deserve any mercy. Why did I do that, something so brutal and violent? Do you hold contempt for prisoners, criminals? Malice, hatred, spite? Do you hate criminals?" These admissions were more than enough to take down the no men res argument of Assistant State Attorney Peter Magrino. Magrino's boss, State Attorney William Gladson, was unaware of the 74-minute tape. When asked about this, he said that would have been Mr. Magrino. He was assigned the case. Another expert, Dr. David Thomas, a former police officer turned professor of forensic studies and criminal justice at Florida Gulf Coast University, took a broader approach. Dr. Thomas analyzed the entire 370-page investigative file. He noted that much of the documentation was centered on public perception rather than forensic evidence or witness statements. Case files included news articles, social media posts, and emails from the victim's father, Eddie Tarsinski. Dr. Thomas argued that this reflected a defensive posture by the sheriff's office, focused more on reputation management than pursuing justice. Thomas also highlighted the mistreatment of the mother, Judy Tarczynski, during the investigation. Despite her lack of involvement in Ariana's stabbing, Judy had been detained and treated disrespectfully. This would undermine trust in law enforcement and compound the family's trauma. The Hernando County Sheriff's Office stood firmly by their investigation, pointing to two key findings that would justify their decision. First, text messages and interviews with friends suggested that Ariana and Ramon had a relatively normal relationship with no signs of physical violence or abuse. Investigators argued that there was no evidence of a history of conflict between the couple that could have led to Ariana's death. Second, Ariana's artwork was brought into question. A gifted artist, Ariana often created dark and macabre pieces. Investigators found a specific drawing she completed 15 months before her death. The image depicted a young woman bleeding from the neck, allegedly from a self-inflicted knife wound. This led detectives to hypothesize that Ariana may have been struggling with depression and used her art to express suicidal thoughts. This theory was immediately dismissed by Ariana's family and friends, who described her fascination with the macabre as purely artistic. Ariana never contemplated suicide. In fact, she had no history of self-harm or mental health struggles. Moreover, a medical examiner had ruled Ariana's death a homicide, stating that the knife wound was inflicted by another person. Ariana's family argued that instead of blaming the victim, the Hernando County Sheriff's Office should find solid evidence leading to the real killer. Yet, for all the attention and advocacy, the case remains closed to this day. The Sheriff's Office and the State Attorney's Office maintain their stance, pointing to Florida's legal requirements for criminal intent as a barrier to pursuing charges. They believe their investigation was thorough and the case was properly handled. The Tarczynski family vowed never to give up. They turned to social media and grassroots efforts. Their battle for justice would not end until Ariana's voice was heard. Meanwhile, Ramon maintained a low profile, with no trace of him or his family available online or in public records. If you search his name, you will only find some articles about Ariana's case. So what do you think? Who is responsible for Ariana's death? Share your conspiracy theories in the comments. If there's a case you're interested in, let us know. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.